Welcome back to our latest edition of the Inside Pitch on CJNU 93.7. Right now we're pleased to be joined by the longtime manager of the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Of course, that's Rick Forney joining us from his home in Walkersville, Maryland. Rick, always great to have you on board. A lot to kind of catch up on here regarding the team, but I guess we'll start things off. Some really great news. Tyler Hill is going to be headed to the Colorado Rockies organization. It's the second time that he's been able to play himself back to a major league club, and just couldn't be happier for a terrific person.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again, Steve. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled for Tyler. He's a good person. He works really, really hard. Obviously, he's a productive player. He's still young. Coming off a really fine season last year, and I think he improved his stock by being able to play so much center field and made it a little bit more enticing for affiliated teams. And he's getting rewarded for his hard work and his production. I mean, the guy's been signed twice now off our club, and so Indie Ball, the American Association in Winnipeg, has certainly been a really good fit for Tyler Hill. We're thrilled for him. Hopefully things go well in spring training, and we'll be following him closely.
Tyler Hill, again, headed to the Colorado Rockies organization. It looks like they're pegging him for Double-A, and I just got to imagine that it's always a great recruiting tool when you can kind of show the guys that are getting back. Certainly in the recent years, but when it's so recent. Is that something that maybe comes up in conversation? Because I know a lot of maybe prospective players will ask you, hey, what are my chances of getting picked up, say, if I come to Winnipeg?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's great right now because there's a lot of guys that were in affiliated ball last year that are without jobs for the first time in their career, and they're waiting instead of securing themselves a spot on an indie ball roster with absolutely nothing to lose by doing it. But you tell them, hey, there's plenty of free agent guys out there, but an organization like the Rockies just chose to, sign a guy off an indie ball roster instead. And, it doesn't mean once you sign with an indie ball team that things are over for you. It's just the beginning of something new. And there still is plenty of opportunity out there. You just got to be able to take advantage of it. It certainly helps. If you're not selling anybody, then it can be more and more difficult because at the end of the day, that's what players are interested in. They're not interested in being long-term indie ball guys. They want to have an opportunity to get back to the big leagues, and you have to be selling some players back. And we're excited about Tyler getting this opportunity. We're excited about the number of guys that got the opportunity off our club last year in 2021, and there are a lot of guys that played for us in 2020 that got affiliated jobs last year that still have affiliated jobs. We're certainly proud of that.
Again, we're talking with Goldeyes manager Rick Forney, and I guess the other side of that too. You kind of use Tyler as an example. You probably never should have been released by the Royals. Unfortunately, the pandemic kind of played a role in that. But when he became available after getting released by Kansas City last year, he really didn't hesitate to come back. This was really his first and only choice as far as playing indie ball, was to come back to Winnipeg. And I've got to imagine that kind of speaks to the culture that you and the have built and the players have kind of sustained here over the last number of seasons.
Yeah, we have a nice program here. We're proud of what we do in Winnipeg, and we take a lot of pride in our professionalism. And Tyler has no reason to hesitate about coming back to Winnipeg because it worked out so well for him the first time, being able to get re-signed again. But he also, got an opportunity to see this is a real good situation. It's very professional. It's run the way you want it to be run, and it's worked out for him. And we're thrilled about that. And we're very proud of what we do in Winnipeg and how we do it.
So we'll take a look at some of the more recent signings that the Winnipeg Goldeyes have added to the roster here. And we'll start off with you got him pegged, it looks like, for a spot in the starting rotation. He's had a really good resume in the Milwaukee Brewers organization. Last year was part of a no-hitter, pitching in high A, but a right-hander from the Dominican Republic, Fracey Adames, has had a really nice career, and it looks like he's got some really good stuff.
Yeah, he's a young right-hander with some upside, and he played this offseason in Nicaragua, was teammates with Raul Navarro, and Raul was contacting me about him really pushing hard for us to sign him because he has such a good young arm. And Raul said there's a lot left in the tank for this kid. That Indy ball's not going to be the end of the road for him. And the velocity's good. 92, 95. Sometimes he'll tick it up to 96. He's got a young, fresh arm, and he's been pretty successful throughout his career. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to come in and pitch in our rotation and see if he can give us 6 innings, every time out, and see if we can give him a platform to get himself showcased and get back to affiliated ball.
Right there, you kind of hint at another, I guess, something else that speaks to, what the Goldeyes have been able to do here collectively. But, an example right there of a player that you currently have, Raul Navarra, recommending someone to you to try and, help his friend out in Forney, but, of course, help the Goldeyes out as well.
Well, it's always been that way, Steve. Your best source of getting players is your own players, and that's just kind of how it always is. I mean, some of us like to think we're better player procurement guys than we actually are, but the truth is, when you have some guys that are still involved in affiliated ball or play winter ball, that they're going to come across some guys that are going to be looking for jobs, and they're more than happy to tell them about their experiences where they play. And Winnipeg sells itself. Once a guy gets there and realizes that, hey, this is a pretty nice place to play, and then you get around the league and you realize that, this is probably a top 5 place in all of Indy ball, that, they're going to tell that to other people. Most people don't, like myself included, don't know anything about Winnipeg or what it was like before we got there. We just were happy to make a choice to come to a situation and end up being very thankful that we did, because it's a great place to play.
So Forney, right-handed starting pitcher from the Brewers organization. Looks like he'll be in the Goldeyes rotation here in 2022, and kind of receiving him and the other pitchers. You brought in a really young upside catcher by the name of Idekel Gonzalez, another guy that had a nice run in affiliated ball with a couple different organizations and is just coming off a fantastic year in the Pioneer League.
Yeah, he's a young, high-energy catcher that can still catch it and throw it. Offensively, there's still some room for growth with him, and he come off a good season in the Pioneer League. I'm not quite sure how those numbers translate, but for a young catcher that can catch it and throw it, that's basically what we were looking for. And we're going to give him a chance to come in and compete for a job. And I've had good reports from his former manager there in Boise this year, who happened to be Wes Darville's manager back in the Cubs organization, and we just had great things to say about him, and thinks he deserves another opportunity in affiliated ball, and he needs to get him out of the Pioneer League into a better situation. And he reached out to me, and obviously we were in a situation where we didn't have any catchers on our roster that we needed to do something, and so I'm glad we were able to get something worked out to bring him into the fold.
Yeah, and one of the younger pitchers we didn't get to last time, but another guy really intriguing. Looks like you might have a lot of upside, but you signed a true rookie, really one of the first guys you brought on in this offseason by the name of John Vargas, coming straight out of college. But looks like he's got a really nice breaking ball and could maybe fill some different roles either in the rotation or bullpen for you.
Yeah, I think he can maybe do a few different things for us. He's young and inexperienced and didn't pitch at a high-level college program, but the reports on him, again, were very good. The video is outstanding. Loved the shape of his breaking ball. I liked his delivery. It looked like he repeated pretty well, and there seems to be some upside there. Like the velo was in that 90 to 92 range. And, there's something in that arm, and we'd like to be able to take a look at it and see if he can fill a spot for us.
We said we're going to have a new player announcement signing here on the show, and just want to let everybody know here that Logan Hill is going to be coming back to the Winnipeg Goldeyes. It'll be his 3rd season with the club, so really exciting. Just one of the best people, clubhouse guys that you're going to come across, and just kind of your thoughts on Logan coming back for 2022.
Yeah, I love Logan Hill. He's a good person, and he had a rough season last year. Got off to a really, really slow start. Obviously picked it up after the first month of the season, and he did a fine job in the outfield for us, and the second half of the season, started to drive in some more runs, hit more average, start to get himself in some better advantage counts that he could take advantage of, and he was rewarded for it and started to be the productive hitter that we needed him to be. And I'm a big fan of Logan. I like him a lot. I like his family, and he likes Winnipeg. He likes playing with us. He really enjoys the whole experience. Glad we got him back in the fold.
So again, we're talking with Winnipeg Goldeyes manager Rick Forney in the latest edition of the Inside Pitch, and Logan Hill will be coming back to the Winnipeg Goldeyes here for a third season. I know this has always been a critical component of how you put your roster together. That the people in the clubhouse are just as important as what takes place off the field. But just kind of from what I've seen over the last 3 years, that Logan just really personifies that glue type guy, where it just seems like it doesn't matter what your own background is, that he kind of makes everybody feel comfortable around him.
Yeah, he's a good person, and obviously when you're doing this and you're building teams, you want to try to get the best people you can in your clubhouse. You spend a lot of time together each and every day, and sometimes you're talking about spending 24 hours or more together, and it's tough, and you have to be able to get along. And if you can't get along with Logan Hill, then you have to question yourself a little bit. He's just a really good person, really good friend, super loyal, funny, just looks out for everybody. He doesn't, hang out in certain groups. He hangs out with everybody, and very friendly guy. Just love having him around.
So we'll take a look at the Winnipeg Goldeyes schedule. Some I guess benefit to adjustments that they made starting the season a little bit earlier. Maybe the downside is that it's going to be a little bit cold there and colder on opening night, but it does build in a few more off days into the schedule for you. So have you taken a close look at all the schedule as far as travel and days off, and just kind of your thoughts and how you're going to navigate around that this season?
No, I didn't take a great deal of time looking at it. I mean, the schedule is what it is. It's not going to get changed. I know one thing, we're going to be pretty cold for about 4 weeks. I think we had a week in Winnipeg for training camp and a week of regular season games in Winnipeg. I believe our first trip is into the Milwaukee area to play those clubs. It's going to be chilly there, and then we go back to Winnipeg. So we're going to be a little bit cold that first month before things start to warm up, but I'm glad that we start the season a little bit earlier. It just felt like the last few years that we spend a lot of time in training camp, where I just thought it would be a better idea for us to start playing real games a little bit sooner. I mean, it's imperative you guys coming in shape, because you're not going to have time to get in shape while you're there. So it's tough to do in perfect weather conditions, but it's going to be even more difficult because it's not going to be 75 degrees, and there's going to be some challenges along with that. We need to make sure that we have a roster of interchangeable parts and have some depth in it. So there's going to be guys who are going to play a day or two, and their legs are going to be hurt, and you're going to have to, have them get a day off or much earlier than you usually do in your schedule. So we'll do the best we can with it, but we'll be a little bit chilly.
Yeah, and that versatility. Certainly the pitching side, I kind of want to get your thoughts on. Given that it seemed like every team, it was a challenge to get length out of starting pitching last year across the board, just with so many guys, the experienced type guys getting picked up. With a couple extra days off in the schedule, I mean, is something like maybe a 6-man rotation, at least early on in the season, is that maybe an option for the club, especially now that you guys have a 25-man roster?
Well, I think it's a possibility. I'm not sure if it'll work out that way. It's just it's hard to make things work with a 6-man rotation, and I've only done it here and there, but I just have to see how it goes. I'm really not sure. I mean, getting length out of 6 guys is going to be pretty difficult as it is. It's hard to get length out of 5 guys, and everybody went through it last year where you're just really short on starting pitching, and the teams that were able to navigate those waters, obviously, were the teams that made it to the playoffs last year. I thought Kansas City did a better job than anybody. Fargo did a really good job, especially when they were losing people, to have some bullpen guys step in. And, when they stepped in, it seemed like they were giving them 4 or 5 innings that very first game that they had the spot start, and building off of that. Milwaukee did a good job, sending Miles Smith, who's a late inning, 1-inning reliever, into a start and roll, and wound up getting, when they get 100 him. And, the rest of us were struggling to get innings to start the games. So we're going to have to, do our best to hang on to some of these quality arms that can give us the innings that we need to be successful every day. It's going to be a challenge, but to answer your question, I haven't committed to a six-man rotation. It's not something I've actually committed to at the beginning of any season, but it's something that's crossed my mind. It just depends on what I'm able to sign.
We're talking with Goldeyes manager Rick Forney here on the Inside Pitch, and there wasn't a huge announcement from the league, but there was a really a significant change to how you and the other managers can go about putting the teams together, and that they really loosened up some of the roster classifications. They added a veteran spot, but maybe more importantly, there's outside of the veterans and the rookie minimums, there's an unlimited amount of what had previously been experienced type players, the LS4s and the LS5s, and just kind of your thoughts and what that's maybe allowed you to do, if that's made it more challenging or maybe helped you out in terms of putting the roster together here this offseason.
Well, I think it works out better for everybody. I mean, most of the guys that we're chasing that are coming from affiliated ball have been in affiliated ball for 4 or 5 years, which would qualify them to be LS4, LS5 players. And we've been limited in the number of those that we've been able to sign in years past, and it just hasn't worked out where it was even worth our time to make calls to those players that were available, because they were no longer fits on our roster based on the parameters, but now they are. And I think it's going to improve the level of play in the league, and I think all of us voted unanimously that was something that we'd like to see changed moving forward, and thankful that the ownership in the league was able to agree with us on that.
Well, outstanding stuff. I'll always appreciate the inside, Rick. Just continue to look forward to see what you've got in store as the roster continues to move towards opening night. Before we let you go, just any last thoughts here for anyone listening before we talk to you in a couple of weeks?
Well, thanks for listening to the show. I'm sure you're getting excited about the upcoming season, as we are. And I love doing the show only because I love talking to Steve Schuster. I get a little bit of a long break from him, which is kind of tough because we see each other every day, and I give him a hard time every day for 4 straight months during the season. So I'm sure he's thankful to get a little bit of a break from me. But anyway, it's good to talk to you, and it's good to talk to the fans and be able to keep them up to date with what we got going on. And it's just a good time of year, because once we start doing these shows, then the season's soon to follow.
Well, outstanding stuff as always. All the best to you and the family. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, Rick.
See you, pal.
Pleased to be joined by one of the returning members of the Winnipeg Goldeyes, and of course a member of the Canadian national baseball team. That's left-handed pitcher Travis Seabrooke. Travis, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the Winnipeg Goldeyes. Thanks so much for taking the time out here tonight.
Yeah, no, hey, Steve. Thanks very much for having me on.
All right, Travis, just let us know, are you down in Florida right now, or are you back home in Ontario?
No, I'm down in Tallahassee, Florida right now. I'm still going to school.
Well, outstanding. The news came out just a couple of weeks ago that you'd be returning to Winnipeg for a second year at a phenomenal season, including the time you spent there with the Canadian national team. And you tied for the American Association lead with 44 appearances, and just really filled a lot of different roles in big situations for the Goldeyes. Just kind of take us through last year. I would imagine maybe extra special for you, since you were one of the many players who couldn't play in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. Just how great was it for you to get back in the field last season?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, that was the longest break that I had away from baseball. Really, in my life, even all the way from back in high school, all the way through my career with Baltimore. So being back in that kind of competitive atmosphere, especially kind of after the first year of COVID, was extremely exciting for me just to be back and being in that environment, being back in the routine of playing every day and getting the work in every day. And it was an unbelievable experience, and I'm very much ready to do it again this summer.
And, for a lot of reasons, last year was challenging for all of you guys. I mean, you were still grinding through the pandemic. You knew that you were going to start the year in Jackson. You didn't know if at some point you'd be able to get back to Winnipeg. I know you and a lot of the guys that hadn't actually been to Shaw Park had heard so much about it, but were hoping to actually have that opportunity. So just, from a player's perspective, how did you, kind of manage that day to day where you had so much uncertainty in front of you?
Well, as far as being starting that season out in Jackson, for me, it didn't really matter as much where necessarily we were playing. Like I'd said, just because it had been almost 2 years until the start of our season since the last time I was in a professional baseball game. Just being out in that kind of atmosphere, whether it was in Jackson or whether it was in Winnipeg, wasn't necessarily as much of a concern for me. I just wanted to go out and compete and play. So that was what the biggest thing was for me. But I just had heard from the coaches and from so many of the players that have been in Winnipeg before and that were currently on the team last year. I heard so many good things about Winnipeg in general, and not just the city, but the players, the team, the way that the team mentality is, the coaching staff, like everybody that's involved. I just heard so many great things, so I was just so optimistic and was so much looking forward to the season to start last year.
And, you guys, maybe in terms of wins and losses early, it took a while for you to get going. But, boy, after that 1st of July, you guys took off. You played, I think it was like 650 caliber baseball there for about a 45 to 50 game stretch to climb back into the race. Just kind of take us through your first season in independent baseball, getting to know the guys, whether it was the pitchers or the position players. And once you guys really did get rolling and started winning games there in the middle of the season, just kind of how much fun was that for you?
It was so much fun. I felt like, approaching the middle part of the season, I felt like our team had really started, we started to click. We started to mesh a lot more. With every team, especially coming off a season like with COVID where it was a shortened season and some guys had played, some guys hadn't played, I felt like it just took us a little bit to kind of get our wheels going. And once that happened and, our team camaraderie really started to come together, I think a lot of guys really started to buy into the winning mentality, where that was, for me, that was the biggest difference coming from affiliated baseball into independent baseball, where the emphasis on winning is just like, is everything, We come out there every single day, right from game 1 until, game 100 at the end of the season, trying to win at all costs. And that emphasis is something that for a lot of guys coming right out of affiliated ball or guys like myself that had kind of even just been away from baseball for a little bit, was the biggest change. And for me, that was the biggest adjustment that I had to make. So I was super happy with the way that our team really came together, around the middle part of the season. And it made the back half of the season extremely enjoyable and so much fun to come to the ballpark every day.
Goldeyes left-handed pitcher Travis Seabrooke coming back for a second year is our first guest here in episode 2 of the Inside Pitch 2022. And I mentioned you tied for the league lead, 44 appearances. Even more impressive, we'd consider that you were away for a couple of weeks during the Team Canada Olympic bid. How much did you enjoy and thrive in just pitching so often? And unlike affiliated ball, sometimes you were pitching 2 days in a row, sometimes you were pitching 3 days in a row, and it seemed like every time that Rick called your number, the game was on the line and it was a big situation.
Yeah, I really want to be able to make an impact, and regardless of what role that is, I want to be the kind of player and the kind of teammate that people can rely on, that my players and, be the kind of pitcher that my guys out on the field want on the mound. And that just comes with being able to throw strikes and be competitive and make good pitches when you need to. And any opportunity that I get to do that, I want to take it, and I want to be the guy that's out on the mound in big situations, and when the game is on the line, and that's something that I really strive for, and that I want to be a part of for sure.
So growing up, you had quite a bit of experience playing with the Canadian junior national team. Got to play in a couple of high-profile international tournaments during your teenage years. But what was it like when you got the call from Greg Hamilton and Team Canada when they reached out during the month of May, letting you know that you were going to join the Canadian senior national team and try and help them get to the Olympics?
Yeah, no, that was extremely special. It was also a little bit unexpected, just seeing because I'd been away from baseball and hadn't played in games really, and at that point it's still almost been about 2 years. So when Greg called, I was a little bit surprised, but I know coming in, like I had done so much preparation to get myself ready for the beginning of the season in Winnipeg. I knew that I was ready. So it was never a question of being nervous or not knowing if I'd be able to go and compete. I was very much ready when I got that call, and any opportunity to go and represent Canada and be a part of any of the Canadian teams at all is just such an honor, and I was so thankful for that opportunity.
Travis Seabrooke joining us here, and you heard the clip when we introduced you, but not only did the Goldeyes eventually get back to Winnipeg there on August 3rd, a big crowd on hand there, 3,000 in attendance at Shaw Park, but you had the opportunity to close things out. So, with all the anticipation, everything that you had heard about Winnipeg and about the fans, the great Goldeyes fans at Shaw Park, what was it like to actually and finally experience that and get to close out that very first game?
It was awesome. It far exceeded expectations. I know everybody had very high expectations, and everyone had heard so many good things about Winnipeg, but you don't really understand what it's like until you get there. I absolutely love the city. I love the field. Our fans were awesome. Everything just ran so smoothly while we were there, especially given the circumstances with how COVID was still affecting the city at that time. So it was an awesome experience. The field itself, seeing the skyline in the back, it's just incredible. It was just awesome, and I'm just so looking forward to getting back there.
And how excited are you? You got along really well with everybody, the hitters and the position players, and there are quite a few names coming back from that club last year. Whether it's somebody like some of the guys from last year's club, like a Deion Stafford or Logan Hill, looks like he might be coming back to the club. How exciting is that for you, knowing that you're going to be sharing a locker room with a lot of guys that you got to know last season?
It's awesome. We just, like I said, last season I think we created a lot of really close bonds with a lot of people, and that was something that I didn't do as much of when I was in affiliated ball, just because of the nature of how the game was played there. But when we're out there and we're all grinding together and we're all trying to win, like the team camaraderie is such a big aspect of that. And I was able to create and form so many really good friendships over the course of last season, and to see some of those names come back again this year is just awesome.
You come from just an unbelievably athletic family. I know your brother right now is a big left-handed pitching prospect like yourself, and your dad, of course, spent time in the National Hockey League. How big was hockey for you growing up? Did you play much, or did you kind of gravitate towards baseball right away? How much hockey influence did you have when you were younger?
Hockey was pretty much everything for me growing up. I played at a pretty high level when I was growing up. I played AAA hockey, and that consumed 4, 5, 6 nights a week from the time I was 5 years old all the way up until high school. So baseball in my childhood was more or less just a sport that I had played in the summer. And as I got older and I started to realize some of the opportunities, I had a really big growth spurt when I was coming out of middle school, and the fact that I was left-handed and I really liked to pitch, I felt like the opportunities that I would be able to have in baseball would surpass those that I was having in hockey. So by the time I got into high school, I just decided to commit to playing baseball 12 months of the year and give up playing hockey. But for my childhood, like, hockey was everything. I played and I loved it, and even to this day I still miss playing.
And do you have, were you a Leafs fan growing up? Having been from Ontario, you've got a couple of great teams obviously down there right now with Tampa Bay and the Panthers down there around Tallahassee. Do you have any teams that you kind of root for now?
I've always been a Maple Leafs fan. I lived an hour away from the stadium. Every now and then we'd be able to go in and watch the Leafs play, and so that's always been the front runner for me as far as fans.
And then it just kind of being
a fan.
How about your younger brother, Carter? I saw a video of him. He's already touching 94, 95 miles an hour, another left-handed pitcher. I just kind of thoughts. I believe he might even be eligible for the upcoming draft this year.
Yes, he is. He's been doing extremely well. He's at Howard Community College right now out in Texas, and their season actually had just started this past weekend. So he's doing extremely well. I think he's got a really bright future, and I know he works hard. He loves to put the work in, so I've got nothing but high praise for him.
And then, of course, speaking of college, you mentioned that you're actually in Florida right now, working on getting your degree. How important has that been for you to try and maybe check that off the list here gradually as you continue to play professional baseball?
Yeah, it's very important. I feel like I've always been a big believer in trying to continually progress your life, always at some times, challenge yourself and try to just do some things that are a little bit outside your comfort zone. And for me, like when I had signed professionally as a high school sign, college wasn't necessarily at the forefront of my mind. I just wanted to go and play. And so after my time in affiliated ball had ended, I was faced with a decision. I had to make some choices, and coming back to school and trying to start getting a degree and trying to figure out what it is that I would want to do for the rest of my life was something that was really important for me. So I'm very thankful right now that I'm able to both continue my career professionally playing in Winnipeg and also pursue, some academic goals and stuff that I've had throughout my life. So it's been good. The scheduling of the independent season balances really well with the school schedule. So it's working out really good right now.
Well, outstanding stuff. I'll always appreciate the insight. I know we're all thrilled to have you back for another season with the Winnipeg Goldeyes. But before we let you go, any final words for the Goldeyes fans listening before we get to see you in May?
Yeah, I hope they're as excited to come out and watch us play as we are to get there and to play. So it's nothing but love for Winnipeg. I'm excited to get there.
Well, great stuff, Travis. Best of luck here as the semester continues. Stay warm, stay safe, and all the best to you and the family. We'll talk to you here soon.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Steve. I appreciate it.
We'll close out tonight's show with our good friend Mike Meyer, the longtime manager of the Sioux Falls Canaries, joining us from his new home in Arizona. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time out. How's the offseason been for you so far?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great. Just grinding away, trying to build a roster, making sure I'm spending enough time with my kids, coaching some basketball, and just enjoying time with them.
Well, before I just want to ask you, so you've moved recently, and building your roster is not the only thing you've been building. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your carpentry projects?
Yeah, we moved into a new house last December, and we weren't really sure what we wanted to do with the entryway, so I just finished actually today putting 3 coats of paint on the wainscoting. So I installed the wainscoting wall in the entryway, and then I built a wood bench that I'll be sanding down and staining here in the next couple of days. So it's been a lot of fun, and it turned out really great. And I like picking up new projects and seeing what things I can accomplish.
Having talked with Rick and the other managers over the years, I mean, the roster building process can be pretty stressful. You're trying to wait to hear back from players that maybe you've made offers to. So, is something hands-on like carpentry kind of a good escape, so to speak, from maybe the everyday grind?
Oh, absolutely. I'm one of those guys that can't sit still, and I drive my wife crazy. She's working from home now since COVID, and I just pace around the house. And laundry and dishes and those things aren't enough to keep me occupied. So I'm either gardening, doing some sort of landscaping, or doing a project in the house just to kind of keep my hands busy, keep me busy while I'm waiting to hear back from a player or an agent, on whether or not they have interest or they're going to sign with us.
Mike Meyer, the longtime manager, really has been with the Canaries organization for well over a decade in various capacities. Just kind of take us through the 2021 season. You guys had the fantastic 2020 year, just getting through that with the backdrop of the pandemic and getting to the championship series. How can you characterize 2021 for the Sioux Falls Canaries?
Yeah, it was, a lot of goods. A lot more bads. We started off great. I thought we had a really good club to start the season. We lost some key pieces early, as a lot of teams did. Big pieces in the middle of our lineup, which we're kind of known for, in Sioux Falls, is putting up a lot of runs. And whenever you lose 2 or 3 of your big pieces in your lineup, it's hard to keep match with teams coming into the birdcage, trying to outslug them. But we also ended up having 3 players that were in the Olympics that we lost for most of the summer, and that was it was fantastic to watch those guys compete in the Olympics. 2 of them were with Team Israel, and then our catcher, Charlie Valerio, was the starting catcher on the bronze medal-winning Dominican Republic. So that was exciting stuff. But we missed them for really most of the year. So that was also a big blow for us. And really, we ended up being super young. There wasn't a ton of free agents, out there available on the market, and so we ended up going really young. But, with that, we were able to find a couple of diamonds in the rough. We were able to land the 2 Wyatts, Wyatt Ulrich, who ended up being Rookie of the Year in the outfield for us, leading off every day, and Colby Wyatt, one of our most reliable bullpen arms, both out of the University of Richmond. So, there was some positives in some of the young guys stepping up for us. But obviously, we want to do better record-wise.
I'll ask you about Wyatt Ulrich, the American Association Rookie Position Player of the Year. Just did an outstanding job in all facets of the game. And, we've talked in the past, it's so hard for a rookie, especially a rookie position player, just to hold his own against the advanced competition with all the double AAA and former major league guys that are in the league. But to succeed at the level that Wyatt Ulrich did last year, straight out of college, he was a lot of fun to watch. Just grinding out the at bats, what he did with 2 strikes, the amount of walks that he drew. What are your prospects for what he can do? Maybe even build on his season last year going into 2022.
Yeah, anybody that got to see us play last year, once we got Ulrich, it was really kind of a tale of 2 halves for him. When we first got him, he went on that electric, reach and base safely streak. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but it was a lot of games in a row. But if you were to be at every game, he was a little timid at the plate. He wasn't really attacking the baseball. It was more just trying to redirect the ball and use his legs and beat out a lot of ground balls and, slapping balls the other way. But what I loved about him is he really matured as a professional hitter. He started to, hunt pitches, trying to catch a breaking ball out front that he can drive in the gap, hit with a little bit more authority. So he still had that with his 2-strike approach, but he was trying to do a little bit more damage within himself early in counts, and I thought he was a significantly better player in the second half, even though his average dipped a little bit, because he was giving us a little bit more production with some doubles. And the other thing that I really loved was I think he was like 1 for 6 in his first, stolen base attempts. I think he was used to just being able to jump everybody in college and not get thrown out, and he really had to figure out what it meant to be a base stealer at the professional level, and he did a great job in the second half. I want to say he was, like 11 for 12 or something down the stretch. So I expect him to have another great year for us, getting on base, hitting some more doubles than he did last year, but also swiping, 20, 25 bags.
Yeah, one guy that you brought back recently, I thought he was a great pickup for you guys last year and could be primed for a big-time breakout season, and that's Trey Miacheski, a guy who can play some corner infield for you and certainly add some versatility as someone that has hit for both average and power throughout his career.
Yeah, Trey's an interesting guy. Last year he got off to a hot start. He was doing everything that we asked him. He was hitting for power. He was hitting for average. He was a solid defender at first base for us. He got hit in the knee a couple of times in a row within about a week and a half span. And, sometimes when those big power guys lose their legs a little bit, they have a tendency to struggle. And his month of July was one of the worst months I've ever seen. I think he had 0 extra base hits in the month of July, and he was punching out nearly 70% of his at-bats. But he just kept grinding, kept trying to, figure things out. And as the course of the summer went on, he really finished strong down the stretch, and he got a little bit more in his legs, and he felt confident to where he was ambushing baseballs again, and he wasn't hitting in, 1-2 counts all the time. And I expect him to be more consistent for us this summer, where he's, a 278, 280 guy, hits 15, 17 homers for us, and hits, 25 doubles, and plays a solid, defense at first base for us. But he's also a tremendous, clubhouse guy, and he's a guy that keeps everybody loose in the clubhouse, and you need those guys, around when things start to go a little, awry, and they're there to kind of keep it loose and keep everybody having fun and really, enjoying the fact that they get to go out and compete every night.
Another one of those guys that's been great in the clubhouse, a veteran presence. You mentioned him earlier. You guys re-signed Charlie Valeria. He was away because of his participation in the Olympic bid last year, but I don't even know if it's fair to say that he's underrated. He's been around the league for so many years, but he's almost one of those catchers where maybe he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, but he really does such a great job defensively, and I think he's really underrated on the offensive side too.
Yeah, what I love about Charlie is his calm presence behind the plate. We had a lot of young arms, and when he was there with us for a stretch at the beginning of the year, and then he came back for a few weeks, and then he went back to the Olympics. But when he was around, our younger guys did significantly better, working them through some jams, really kind of helping them understand what it is that they are and what they do, and how to attack hitters. And he's a vet. He's been around forever. He's caught at really high levels. He's really smart. He knows our league. He knows a lot of the best hitters. And he's really good about finding what it is that our pitcher does well. That's something that the opposing hitters don't like. And that's a huge piece for us. Veteran catching is really important, and we've had our share of having really good backstops, but it's always a struggle trying to find somebody that fits, and Charlie's great. And I think you're right. Offensively, he's undervalued. He doesn't do a lot of the flashy things, but he just takes really good at bats from both sides of the plate. And he seems to come up with big swings for us whenever we really need them. But he'll go 1 for 3 with a walk. And that one at bat that he gets it in, it might be just a filleted base hit the other way, but it's with a runner on second and 2 outs. Or it may be where we're down a run and he's leading off and he'll hit a double in the gap to get us a guy in scoring position. So he seems to come up with really big swings for us. And I also love having him in there because he adds a little protection to some of the middle of our lineup guys, and we really missed that late in the year where Jabari they weren't giving Jabari anything to hit. Because we didn't really have anybody, behind him that people were worried about.
And one of the more recent acquisitions just came across a few days ago, but you bring in a guy that had some experience, and really considering that Kane County is a pitcher's ballpark for what we saw last year. But you signed Gavin LaValle, former prospect in the Reds organization, a lot of AA experience, and put up, I believe, a .450 slugging percentage last year, 12 home runs at a pitcher's park, and he could be maybe a 20-plus home run guy playing in the birdcage for a full season.
No doubt. He was one of the guys that I've been chasing all off season. We were in Kane County towards the end of the year, and Gavin hit 5 balls that would have been doubles and homers in the birdcage. And we caught 4 of them at the warning track, and one of them got down for a double. But he just has that nice high launch angle that works really well in the birdcage. But the other thing I like about it is he doesn't punch out a lot, and he takes his walks. So he's kind of the perfect fit for what we need in the middle of our lineup, whether he's hitting in front of Jabari or he's hitting behind Jabari. But I think he's a very key piece for what we're trying to do in the middle of that lineup to be a big-time run producer for us. And I think you're right. I think he's an 18, 20 home run guy in our ballpark. Excuse me. But I also think he has the potential to hit 25, 27 doubles in our ballpark just because he does hit with that high launch angle and can rattle some balls off the boards for us.
I thought one of the best stories from last year came out of Sioux Falls. You gave a professional opportunity to a young pitcher by the name of Parker Hansen, who, for those who aren't familiar, played college baseball, kind of a local product. He played at Augustana University, but was born without a left hand, and he did pretty good for you guys there for a couple of appearances. How inspirational was that to kind of watch that unfold in the field?
It was tremendous. It was such a fun experience for us, being able to watch Parker do his thing out there. Growing up as a kid, Jim Abbott was a big, role model for me. My dad was in Vietnam and got hit by a mortar, and he lost his right hand. So he was an amputee my whole life, and so Jim Abbott was a big deal for us, and so to be able to sign Parker and have him go out there and do his thing was pretty special to watch for me personally, but a lot of our guys really, were rooting hard for him, and unfortunately, because he does everything with his right arm, he kind of tweaked his elbow a little bit, and he was just really concerned about, long term for him. He's the type of guy that, unfortunately, not having, a left hand, that if he does have to have Tommy John, that would be catastrophic for him, because he can't be in a sling for 6-8 months, and so it was best for him to shut it down and retire, but it was fantastic to watch him do his thing, and I was so proud of him, and he competed hard, and he did a good job for us.
And, Mike, I'm not sure if you heard the news. This just came out a few hours before the show, but Greg Taggart, just one of the all-time great managers in independent baseball. He was managing when you were still playing for the St. Paul Saints. It looks like he's stepping down from the Railcats after 17 years to take a job at the San Francisco Giants organization. So, as someone that's kind of managed against him and coached against him for a very long time, just your thoughts on what he's done for the Railcats and kind of what he means to independent baseball in general.
Fantastic human being. Greg and I have become pretty close here over the last 10, 15 years, and I really admire, the success that he was able to do and have in Gary. And, the thing that I admired most about the way he handled the job over there was he did it his way. He's kind of an outlier. He approaches it from a different, perspective than most of the rest of us managers, and going with really young guys and a lot of rookies and a lot of college guys, and running his program a little bit more, skewed towards a college atmosphere. But he always put together competitive teams, and it was always a great series wherever we were playing, especially when you were playing them in Gary. I'm really excited for Greg for this new part of his career. But he'll certainly be missed around the American Association. Now it's kind of, you wonder what the Railcats are going to look like moving forward without Taggart there. So I'm happy for him. I'll try to reach out to him in the next couple of days and see what's going on with that. But really excited for him. But certainly I'll miss our conversations and competing against each other.
Well, Mike, outstanding stuff. Really well said there about Greg. Appreciate you, as always, taking the time. I know it's a busy time for all the managers across independent baseball right now, but all the best to you and the family. Excited to see you a few more times this year. The Goldeyes and the Canaries now in the same division, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you before soon enough here once the season gets underway.
That sounds awesome. Appreciate it, Steve.